Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to take a quick look here again at Bitcoin, see what's going on. This is very interesting. We got a falling wedge pattern here playing out. Just kind of want to throw this out here first. The last few falling wedge patterns have resulted in some pretty positive things here. Again, some pretty nice growth there. So keep in mind, this is not a guarantee by any stretch. There's a lot of other factors that we're complementing at those times too, but generally speaking, we are starting to see that form. So we want to kind of just be mindful of the fact that we could see a bit of a relief rally here, not get too crazy with some shorts. We can see, of course, majority of the market is recovering here today. It's looking pretty good. We'll jump into the back end data here too, kind of see what's going on, and just want to say thank you so much for hitting that like button, commenting below, and just being part of my life. It's amazing to be able to work with my traders here. So this is basically a newer format for High Block Capital. We can see we got our 7-day and our 1 month. So based on the last 7 days here, we can see a decent amount of liquidation at about 64,000, close approximate. That's $2 billion worth of liquidation. But again, a pretty big amount, somewhere between 2 and 3 billion, up at about 67,500. So we're smack dab in the middle of that. Honestly, it's hard to say which direction it's going to go, just looking at liquidation, but those are things we need to be mindful of. When we do look at the last month, we can see here, it's a little bit different of a story here. We got, what, 64,000? No, this is actually about 65,000. Right there at 65K, or no, correction, I'm sorry. That is about 63,000. We can see a heavy concentration liquidation, about $7 billion worth of liquidation there. So that is not ideal at all in the overall grand scheme of things here. So I still think we have a larger propensity for the price action to pull back too. So keep that in mind. Definitely looking pretty solid for our shorts still, even though we may see a relief rally here. So I know that seems conflicting, but generally speaking, with large liquidation levels to the downside, it makes more sense for the price action to continue in that direction until those levels are swept. That's really just how buying and selling works. It's basically just the fear and greed index, so to speak. So let's go ahead and talk about the daily time frame, work our way down. We already looked at the monthly and weekly yesterday. No, it was the day before on Monday. And we double checked a few things. We're still looking decent in a lot of ways, but we're still, of course, diverging. Okay, so we're above some important moving averages on larger time frames. Specifically, the weekly, we're at that right above that 20-day SMA. But at this point here on the daily, it's not looking fantastic by any stretch. Okay, again, we're below all moving averages minus the 200. We can see here, of course, we look down below too. The MACD is diverging yet again, and stochastic still swinging down with money flow index very low. So a lot of money is coming away from this coin. Keep in mind, when we come down closer to 20 on the money flow index, and we look at its history, there's a decent chance the price is due to recover. If we take a look at this here, we can see this is when money flow index was roughly at about 30, okay? Or sorry, correction, at 20 level. Keep in mind, it continued lower. I'm not saying the very first day it's just going to stop, but shortly after, the price recovered after breaking out of its falling wedge pattern, okay? So we're seeing a very similar circumstance here right now. It's not exact, of course. A lot of different factors exist, but just something to kind of be mindful of, okay? So we start to bottom out here next couple of days. We see the price action start to hold at this 0.5 fib level at about 64,200. I think we're going to be in decent shape to see the price go higher. Would not be surprised if we see one more candle wick down to this low fib level at 62.5, possibly even just a little bit lower to sweep all that liquidity and call it a day there. Because again, if we look at this here on the monthly, we got a pretty decent amount of liquidation still as low as that 61,500 mark. Okay, so that is a realistic probability, but again, not a guarantee. So let's take a look at the 4-hour. See here kind of where we're at. We're below all moving averages. Until we get over the 20-day SMA at the very least, we really have no consideration for a long. Do not take a long position just because we have a falling wedge pattern. They have a higher propensity of breaking out. A breakout could very well be one of these here where the price breaks up and gets rejected by this resistance range between 66.5 and roughly 67,000 and continues lower. Okay, so wouldn't be surprised if we have another false breakout. In fact, we shorted at 67,000. The price dropped down, hits nice profit targets for our community. Again, recovering some of those losses from earlier in the month when we got a pretty big fake out here at about that $67,000, $68,000 range. Okay, so again, the key takeaway here, I think, is that if we get above this descending trend line here, back up over the 200 or the 100-day SMA on the 4-hour, we're going to be in much better shape. Between now and then, I would be very, very cautious taking long positions with Bitcoin right now. Again, unless they're tight and you have good close margins there. We can see MACD's trying to converge. It's not a strong convergence by any stretch. RSI, money flow index, everything's kind of looking like it's pretty weak. Again, until we break above 50 in the RSI and hold above, this was again that fake out that we saw last time, we're not going to be in a position where taking along makes any sense. Okay, we got to break our descending trends and essentially reverse this this ugly pattern that we're seeing right now. Let's take a quick look at Ichimoku Cloud in the hourly. Still getting rejected out by the cloud. Almost every time the price action breaks above, it gets rejected and comes right back down. So truth is, the Ichimoku Cloud, being a very conservative indicator, is generally very safe. It's been fairly inconsistent with this manipulation of the market. Okay, so that's again all the more reason why we're going to be adjusting our take profit targets and just our general swing trade signals. Okay, so if you're not part of that, you didn't notice that, or you didn't see that, make sure you read through our premium Discord there just so you understand what that looks like. But it's pretty straightforward. We're going to have slightly tighter targets, and essentially we're going to have fewer targets so we can maximize our gain on the targets we hit. Again, conversation for another day, just letting you know that you have to adjust in trading. Once every 6 months, I would say at the very least, I have to calibrate and make changes, because if you stick to the same old system, it doesn't always work. But again, if it isn't broke, don't fix it either, right? You got to make sure you understand where you're at. The whole point of me saying that is that we are still under the cloud here, and that's given us some false positives recently. So even a break above the cloud, I still wouldn't feel super comfortable with. What we are looking for here, though, hypothetically, is the price come up and to perform a bullish backtest of this descending trend line, and then to essentially close above the cloud. That would give me some confidence that the shift in momentum has occurred, because A, we'd have higher highs and higher lows at that time. We'd break our descending trend line with a retest of that descending trend. Okay, that's generally what you want to look for in bullish breakouts. So not to say they're foolproof by any stretch. We saw what happened last time. We traded the Fed meeting last week, and at this point here, obviously we're in a different situation. So anyways, that's what I'm looking for. We got to make sure to also remember that we have a resistance range between 66,000 and 67,000. So just loose estimate, 66 to 67 is that resistance range. So again, I'm more so looking for a trade that's up in this range here before I get any kind of confirmation I want to take a long. Okay, and I know it sounds crazy to wait until 67,000 to take a long when I could get in at 65. But right now, we don't know the bottom's in yet. Okay, that's the important thing. Most people keep expecting the bottom to be in, and it's not. So last thing I want to look at quickly here is just the TPO, and kind of just reference the volume profile here for today, which is roughly at about 65,200. So we need a closure above 65.2 to show that the bulls took control over the last 24-hour period. And if we don't have that, I think the likelihood of the price action continuing lower is higher. Almost every time the price action closes below the point of control, it ends up moving lower because it shows that last 24-hour period has been controlled by the bears. So that's kind of what we're looking at here at this point. Until we close above, again, just for starters, 65,200, we're not going to have a leg to stand on. And by no stretch should you be taking a long position just because that happens. Still very premature, still very early. So let's just be patient, folks, and see how things play out. Again, if you insist on taking a trade, I just recommend low leverage, low position size, so you can kind of help circumvent getting swept and being a statistic with all these liquidation sweeps. Okay, it happens time and time again. It's so crazy, but it's a pretty consistent thing. So my anticipation is that we'll see 61 to 63,000 at the very least. This what, 6, 7, maybe even, I think that's closer to maybe $10 billion worth of liquidation. Yeah, $9.8 billion in liquidation at 62,700. That's a lot of liquidation, folks. Okay, that's on the horizon. So we're going to keep our short position open for Bitcoin. I'm going to probably look at some other alts as well, hoping Bitcoin kind of retests that 66,000 range, and then we can get some sweet shorts in at that time. Between now and then, patience is key. Let's make sure we hold on to our britches and relax and take it easy. It's all good, folks. Remember, less trading can be a very successful thing. Make sure you calibrate. Paper trade if you need to. I was talking to one of my community members earlier. I paper traded for almost a year when I had some trouble back in traditional markets. I was able to kind of calibrate, figure things out, work things out, and since then it's been a fairly consistent run, minus the last few months here of slightly rocky behavior since big money's been involved. Again, all the more reason to readjust and to essentially ensure that you are working within the means of yourself, but also the means of the market. Markets is it's a pain, but it can be a lot of fun too. All right, folks, thanks again so much for watching. Do me a favor, hit the like button, comment below. Also join us here on Twitter, Telegram, Discord, TikTok now, and also YouTube Shorts. So kind of some fun stuff there, getting y'all up to date with things. So appreciate the feedback there as well. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.